Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and this video is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually just staring at waveforms on Audacity right now. I have no video to back this up, but I got, into Hi Baby, a description of an issue on the Toshio Thunder Zone Discord. Mr. Waffle added me, and he asked my opinion on bombers. I think it was... oh, who was it? It was one of those delightful, well-versed British boys on YouTube. Was it Oxy? I think it was Oxy. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But he was mentioning how bombers don't have a place in War Thunder, and this is a conversation that has been going on for some time. And something just struck me. Bombers are a lot like helicopters, especially tactical bombers, but also even medium and frontline bombers stand a serious disadvantage against fighters who are dedicated to taking down aircraft. When you look at the comparison, in a tank RB match, I have a chance of facing enemy aircraft, and against a jet, I have about a 50, well, let's put it, maybe a 25% chance to shoot down an enemy jet if I'm aware of him and he's aware of me. I've learned how to maneuver and use my defensive guns, triggered, effectively. And as I mentioned, maybe 20-25% chance. Trade 1 to 4, that's not bad, and then make up the difference with ground kills. And the community, between the community and Gaijin, it's well enough understood that that is not a good enough trade to give helicopters a place to grind and a place to research that is not mixed with enemy fighters. And that is the arcade enduring confrontation event that has been made by Gaijin for the purpose of grinding helicopters. I've made several videos on that and how it is the best place to grind. Why don't we have an event like this for bombers and attackers? Yeah? Well, to put it very short, I think that helicopters would have died if there wasn't an event like this. I think that they're too expensive and they take too long to grind out the modules. It's just far too difficult if they don't have their own place to grind, where they don't constantly get killed by things that have an advantage over them, and instead they get killed by things that have air-to-air guided missiles. But that's at least something you can learn some strategies to fight against. You don't get out-energied and outmaneuvered and taken down from outside the firing arc of your defensive guns, as is the experience in a bomber against a fighter pilot who's worth his salt. I've never been afraid of a bomber when I'm in any fighter, and that's any bomber. Even the BV-238, as intimidating as it can be, has no defensive fire directly below it, and so you can pop up underneath that fella, shoot him in the wing fuel tanks, and be on your merry way. If you decide to set yourself up for that, which takes a certain amount of patience. Also, they're susceptible to head-on attacks from below, but I digress. Suffice to say, an experienced pilot can take down any bomber without any real worries if he sets himself up in position. Basically what this means is a bomber has no way to win a dogfight. And that, I think, is not too controversial of a statement. So what to do about it? Well, the thing is, Gaijin doesn't have to do anything about it, and that's why they haven't done anything about it. People aren't saying, I'm going to stop playing Air RB until you fix bombers. Well, at least not enough people. The Gaijin feels it as an, here's a fun word, existential threat. Yes, I believe our former president used that when saying He didn't believe that ISIS was an existential threat, but he still wanted to send some bombs their way anyway. But that's completely off topic. So, Guppy, you know not to play with water unless we have a towel. And we don't have a towel, do we? I'm going to take this. Please don't be too loud. Oh, I've spilled it. Okay, no. No more. Alright, where were we? So, bombers are not competitive in the environment that they find themselves, with the exception of bombers like the B-29 and other tactical bombers with insane bomb loads like the BV-238, which has yet to be fully addressed, although it's not the worst. The Tu-4, the B-29, those are the most effective bombers in-game, and they've been repair cost priced out of the game for most people. They're also at a battle rating where they can face jets that can intercept them, and even if they're not able to intercept them, because they have a chance to take them down with the extreme difficulty of landing a B-29 and the great speed of the opposition that they face, even in the form of turboprops and jets, they don't stand much of a chance getting back to the base and being able to J out on the runway, which is something you can do, by the way, to avoid a repair cost. I don't know if you guys knew about that. So your chances of getting shot down in a Tu-4 or B-29 are fairly high, and it will take you quite some time to make money in those aircraft if you are not at the top level of skill in those planes. So for the general majority of War Thunder players, they've been repair cost priced out of the game. That you will bleed Silver Lions as you play them. You might as well play top tier. So, what is the message to players? I think that Gaijin has been fairly clear about what the message to players is, and that is they don't want bombers intruding on their PvP fighter dogfight fest of RB or Air RB matches, and that's entirely fine. But they need their own place. You can't just give bombers a damage model that makes them get taken down by a handful of 50 cals to the tail and the entire tail section of your tactical bomber falls off. You can't give them a damage model where a single 20 mil can blow off an entire wing and there's like enough room for a man to hold a cocktail party in the section that's been blown away, but no mind. You can't price out of the game the most powerful and useful bombers, and you can't make the only practical tactical bomber, other than that French FC-22 2.2, a premium. You can't do this and say that you're not separating bombers from being useful in ARRB. So if they're not game changers in ARRB, and thus they don't really have a place on teams, because, again, that spot would be better taken up with a fighter, why then do they not have a place? Why do they not have their own place, as helicopters do? And I think the answer is simple. No one has required Gaijin to do this. And one of the things that you'll notice about Gaijin is they're very, very busy. They're busy doing incredible things. They're like a parent with 6 or 7 kids. And you may hear my toddler over here requiring things of me. I don't mess with her little tablet PC until she brings it to me and says, Shaja, Shaja! Because, well, I have projects that I'm doing, right? And I'm a very distracted man. But look at this. She gets my attention. And she has things that she requires me to do. And I'm perfectly happy to help her with these things. This is such a garbage tablet. We've ordered you a better one. This one's overflowing its memory all the time. So, I say, bomber pilots, bomber enthusiasts, lovers of aircraft in War Thunder, please kindly and politely and insistently insist that there be an an RB, Enduring Confrontation, or AB, Enduring Confrontation mode, for bombers, and let's throw attackers in there as well, because they could use some love. So maybe just all kinds of bombers, though, where, like helicopters, they can have multiple airfields to use, they can have a plethora of targets, and no fighters allowed. Why not? They've made a game mode where bombers are not welcome. Why then can they not make a game mode where fighters are not allowed? I see no reason. Obviously, split the player base, split the player base. You know what? There's not a ton of people playing helicopter Enduring Confrontation, but there's enough to get into matches on a fairly regular basis, especially with the way Enduring Confrontation works. There's not a lot of people that play Sim, but again, there's enough, especially with the way they've made Sim rooms. So that's a moot point. There's really no reason to not do this other than no one has required it of Gaijin, and it would take some effort. The helicopter game mode did take quite a bit of attention from the developers to get it in working order, and that's just the way that new game modes are. One of the reasons that the Assault game mode is not doing well is just it hasn't received enough attention to make it a properly working game mode. But Enduring Confrontation has been tested out quite a bit. I would love to see it come specifically for bombers, and even if fighters are allowed, on large maps with lots of ground targets, there will be some place for bombers to do their thing, with a bit more room to tactically maneuver if there's enough spread on the targets that they can have a better encounter than in Air RB with their small maps and places where targets, you know where the bombers and the ground strikers are going to be, let's put it that way. And so there's no chance to avoid contact with an interceptor. Anyway, I've already said enough, and I hope that you all will join me in contacting Gaijin and sharing this specific idea that bombers can have their own place in War Thunder that is the same solution that was done for helicopters, and it's worked so well for them. Anyway, guys, I know that's not a perfect solution. I know certain bombers will still have a hard time, but they'll have a fighting chance, and they'll be able to do more things than just fly to one point and press spacebar and hope not to get intercepted. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.